Good morning and welcome. I hope all attending and watching and your families are enjoying good health and will continue to do so. Like so many others, the UIAB was directly impacted by the pandemic, and while we grieved, we continue to do our work, doing what we can to serve the public and care for our employees. And of course, due to the economic impact of the virus, we have seen a dramatic increase in our workload. And our employees have been steadfast in rising to the task of continuing to serve all workers who need our services. We are very grateful for their dedication. Because the pandemic and its impact are still with us, I would like to ask you to join me in a brief 30-second moment of silence to remember those we so sadly lost and those who have suffered. I am setting a timer now. Thank you. My name is Geraldine Riley, and I'm the chair of the New York State Unemployment Insurance Appeal Board. I am presiding today from the board's office in Menands, New York, for this Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 public meeting of the board. The meeting has been noticed, the draft agenda has been published. The minutes from the previous January 27th, 2021 meeting have been circulated to the members, and the public has been invited to observe. This meeting is being recorded and will be available along with the minutes on our website. Due to the pandemic, for this meeting, our members and some staff will be attending remotely. I thank them for recognizing that every contribution to a decrease in social contact and the possibility of spread matters. I wish to acknowledge that board member Randall Douglas is attending from Plattsburgh. June O'Neill is appearing from Ogdensburg. Marilyn O'Mara, who usually serves in Elmira in the Southern Tier, is attending remotely as well. Board member Michael Greason is attending remotely from Brooklyn. All members being present, we do have a quorum, and our meeting is recognized as the second official meeting of 2021. I would like to begin this meeting by expressing my thanks to all of those who have supported the work of the board in addressing the many tasks that we face. I would like to thank the staff and the leadership of all of our offices, and of course and primarily, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the board for their work, encouragement, and support. This is our second meeting of 2021, and it is my hope that this consistent quarterly schedule of board meetings presents a board that is proactive and accessible, and a board which aggressively addresses the 21st century challenges that we face or that we anticipate, and that we address those tasks with optimism and confidence in the skill and effort of our many talented employees. Every board member and each staff member is serious and interested, industrious, engaged in their approach to the consequential work that we do, and I sincerely thank them for that. I want to acknowledge and thank our Executive Director and Board Secretary, Tracy Covey, who's appearing remotely from Syracuse, and Principal ALJ for Appeals, Christopher Tate, who is also with me today in Menands. Chief ALJ Jason Myers is unable to attend today's meeting, but his report will be incorporated into the report of Board Director Covey. I want to thank Melissa Sousa, who is taking minutes, and Amy Higbee, who has assisted with the technology. Before the call to order, I would like to remind members, staff, and the public that our next public meeting of the board will be held Wednesday, July 21st, 2021 at 11 o'clock. Thank you. I am now calling this meeting to order, and I would like to start with introductions of board member and staff. Again, my name is Geraldine Riley, and I am the chair of the board. Chris.
Christopher Tate, Principal Administrative Law Judge, Menands.
Marilyn.
Marilyn O'Mara, board member.
Thank you. Michael.
Michael Greason, board member.
Thank you, Michael. June.
June O'Neill, board member.
Thank you. All members being present, we have a quorum. And,
Randy's here
Tracy.
too.
I'm just being quiet today, but
Randy, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm here. Randall Douglas, board member.
Great. Tracy?
Tracy Covey, Executive Director.
Thank you. Okay, our first order of business today is to review and adopt the draft agenda. Would you please take a moment to read the agenda that has been circulated and published? Is there a motion to accept the agenda? Thank you, Randy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marilyn. Now, we will proceed to a vote. All in favor of adopting the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing no opposition, the agenda is adopted. Turning now to the adopted agenda, our next item of business is to read the minutes from our January 27th meeting and adopt them into the record.
Madam Chair, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and accept them into the record.
Thank you, Michael. There's a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and adopt them into the record. Is that motion seconded?
Second.
Thank you, Marilyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I have a minor correction to offer.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, on the second page, the second bullet says that I was appearing from Ogdensburg remotely, and I was appearing from Canton. And the same is true today. I know, Madam Chair, that you said Ogdensburg, but I am in fact in Canton today.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I amend my motion to accept the minutes as with that noted.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is there a motion? Michael, did you just make the motion to
Yes, to
correct the minutes?
accept the minutes as corrected.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marilyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposition. The minutes as corrected have been adopted. And going forward, June, certainly the record will reflect that. Our first report today will be the director's report, and that is going to be delivered by Board Director Tracy Covey.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all. Since our chief, Jason Myers, is not that the report on reported. Under the able leadership of our chair and the hard work of our chief ALJ, Jason Myers, and our talented and judicial and administrative staff, the first quarter of this year has been very busy and very productive. First, in staffing news, our judicial and administrative staffing level is currently at 138 employees. We hired 8 new ALJs who started on March 4th. They have completed the first round of their comprehensive new hire training, including training on the role of the ALJ, misconduct and voluntary leaving of employment without good cause separations, overpayments and willful misrepresentations, total unemployment, valid original claim, federal and UIAB quality assurance issues, federal benefit programs, language access, evidence, and credibility. Trainers on these topics included Chief Judge Myers, Principal ALJs Christopher Tate and Teresa DeMeo, Acting Principal ALJ Mark Sokolowski, Senior ALJs Allison Ferrara, Denise Hodges, Carol Procopio, Justin Denton, Carol Johnson, Acting Senior ALJ June Eagland, ALJs Michelle Burrows, Evelyn Hayco, and ALJ Kathleen Mannix. Amy Higbee also participated in the training, as well as Bob Cole, in giving trainings on our case management system and our reporting systems. The new ALJs started holding hearings this week on April 19th and will continue to progress through our quarterly trainings throughout the next year. At the current time, we are also evaluating the need for additional judicial staff based on projected inventory and retirements. Administrative staffing over the last quarter has remained relatively stable. Over the last few months, we have hired several new individuals to replace staff who have either left for new opportunities or for retirements, but overall our numbers have remained consistent. On the technology front, our team continues to move forward with the UISIM computer modernization project, and we are now in the design phase. The project still has an anticipated completion date of December 2022. Our e-file project also continues to progress. ASO is scheduled to begin uploading case file documents into the system next week, and we will start holding paperless hearings. A small portion of our hearings will now become paperless in mid-May. Amy Higbee is the project lead and liaison with ITS. Senior ALJ Justin Denton is the judicial lead, and Labor Services Representative Heather Malmberg is the administrative lead for the project. Senior ALJ Herbert Fowler and ALJs Susanna Iafrate, Julie Rosen, and William Friedman also play critical roles in the project, and they will be the ones holding hearings with the new e-files, and they will report back to us on any impediments and needed improvements that they see. Hearings held in the project will be ongoing for approximately 60 days and will give us a good indication of whether the system can be used as a stopgap measure until UISIM goes live in December of 2022. We recently updated the video on our website to better explain telephone hearings. We are also looking into creating content for the website that explains difficult UI terms. And we continue to upload recent board decisions into our searchable decision database. Now, moving on to our statistics. Unfortunately, we are still not in compliance with USDOL acceptable level of performance markers. The validated data for March 2021 shows that the lower authority average case age was 62.88 days, which is above the 30-day acceptable level of performance. At the current time, we are also not meeting compliance standards with the 30 and 45-day time-lapse markers, with only 4% of our cases being decided within 30 days and 9% of our cases being decided within 45 days. The case age and time-lapse statistics are solely due to issues at the UI division. They have a backlog currently of over 1,600 cases, and the average case age prior to the cases even reaching us is 121.2 days. For the last couple of months, between 90 and 95% of the cases they have sent us are already too old for us to meet the USDOL timeliness markers. Until the UI division can resolve their backlog and case age issues, we will not meet USDOL timeliness markers and time-lapse percentages. We are also slightly out of compliance with USDOL acceptable level of performance standards for the higher authority. Validated data for March of 2021 shows that our average case age is 43.17 days, which is above the 40-day USDOL timeliness marker. This is primarily because we have had to focus the UIAB's efforts on the increased inventory at the lower authority, which has resulted in the reassignment of higher authority ALJs and administrative staff to hearings. We very much appreciate that operational flexibility and will return additional efforts to higher authority appeals in the upcoming weeks. Turning to the latest federal quality review results, our average ALJ's grade in federal quality review was 98.56 for the fourth quarter of 2020. 20 randomly selected cases were scored according to the 31 federal quality criteria. All cases scored achieved the U.S. Department of Labor's passing grade of 85% or better, easily surpassing the acceptable level of performance of 80% with a passing grade of 85 or better. 13 of the 20 hearings that were evaluated under the FFR had perfect scores of 100. Our continued excellence in this area is something we should really be proud of. We also continue to administer our own quality assurance program. The audits focus on the fundamental elements of fair hearings and decisions. We are striving to complete at least 140 of those audits per quarter. The results of the recent QA audits show that our judges are consistently applying our internal QA program appropriately. That is all I have for my report today. Thank you for allowing me to report on these issues.
Thank you, Tracy. Are there any comments or thoughts and questions regarding Tracy's report?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Randy.
I'd just like to note that we're still in compliance at way above the level at 98%, but I'm assuming that every state in the nation is not meeting the US DOL standard for the timeliness effort at this point.
Yes,
I would
Randy,
assume that. I don't know that for sure, but I would assume that. Am I correct, Tracy, in thinking that?
We have had, the last time that we spoke with USDOL, which was a couple of months ago, they indicated that other states were also facing similar difficulties.
And it just shows to the quality of our work that we're still at 98%. And so kudos to you, Tracy, and staff and everybody else involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I also have to acknowledge the work of Tracy and Chris and the whole team in keeping our statistics customer service friendly. Certainly, it's been an unprecedented time, as we know, for applications for unemployment insurance because of the pandemic. And I don't know if we've ever experienced such economic turbulence, which does have an impact on our work since we are really part of the unemployment appeal system, which is going to reflect the increase. I know our staff has been working tirelessly to accomplish quality assurance and customer service, and I think that we're doing everything we can. Certainly the e-file project, which you mentioned, Tracy, and I know you've been very involved in leadership on, is going to be something which will enable our staff to work without the cumbersome paper files that we've been dealing with for so long, and which does make our work harder and it makes our work take longer. So thank you for your leadership in implementation of the e-file project. And I also did want to acknowledge the video that we're going to be putting up in our website, or we actually have updated regarding telephone hearings. Tracy, regarding telephone hearings, are they the predominant form of hearings that we're experiencing now?
That's correct. 100% of our hearings are done by telephone at this point in time. We are not having, due to the current health crisis, we still do not have individuals coming into our offices in person to hold hearings. So we have strived throughout the last year to implement additional efficiencies and better explanations of what goes on during phone hearings, part of which is the video that was recently posted on our website that explains more of how it's going to look when you're in a phone hearing versus in person. We are still offering the utmost level of due process and customer service. It's just now on the telephone instead of in person.
Thank you. And that, of course, in these days of health concerns and remote experiences, frankly, it's been a way that we're able to do our work in the safest way possible for our employees and for, of course, for our customers. So thanks for making that accessible, and I would encourage the members to check it out, to look into it. It's a very fine piece of work. So thank you so much for that. Are there any other questions about Tracy's report?
Madam Chair, it's not really a question, but at our last meeting, when Tracy announced that we were bringing in the new crew of ALJs, I had asked if it would be possible for us to meet with them virtually. And I'm just wondering if maybe by our next meeting, even if they could do a short video clip just to introduce themselves so that we could put a face to the names that we will be seeing.
Okay, Tracy, do you want to respond to that? I'm sure we'll try to accommodate that. Do you have any thoughts?
We can try to accommodate that and see what we can do over the next month to get something set up.
Okay, yeah, even if it's, 2 or 3 of them and we could do it in pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, we might be able to do something like that. Right now, they're in a very rigorous and intense training mode where every minute of every is accounted for, but then they're starting to do hearings this week too. So we will make that happen, June. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the director's report and incorporate it into the record?
So moved.
Thank you, June. Is the motion seconded? Thank you,
Second.
Michael. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, the report is accepted and incorporated into the record. Since there is no separate Chief ALJ report today, we turn to the report of Principal ALJ for Appeals, Christopher Tate. Chris, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Chair Riley. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to discuss several recent appellate division cases that were handed down in 2021. The first is matter of Bonilla, and the site is 190 Appellate Division 3rd, 1173. And that was decided on January 21st. And the court affirmed the board's decision that found that the claimant, a postal worker, voluntarily left his employment without good cause. The claimant in this case was hospitalized for an alleged suicide attempt. Before returning to work, the employer, pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement, required the claimant to submit a psychiatric evaluation to determine whether he was fit to return to duty. The claimant refused to authorize the release of his medical records to the psychiatrist performing the evaluation and therefore did not return to work. Citing to matter of Gaines, which is at 37 Appellate Division 3rd, 962, which was a case where the claimant resigned after the employer directed him to appear at a medical examination in order to reclassify him to a different work position. The court held that, quote, whereas here a claimant fails to take reasonable steps to protect his or her employment, the claimant can be held to have voluntarily left employment without good cause, unquote. The second case is matter of Monica, and that site is 2021 New York Active Lexus 1537. That was decided on March 11th. The court affirmed the board's decision that denied the claimant's application to reopen a prior default decision. Following the department's finding that the claimant was disqualified from receiving benefits on the ground that he had voluntarily separated from his employment without good cause, the claimant had requested a hearing, but in advance of the hearing, he had advised the department that he would not appear based on the pendency of his small claims action against the employer. As a result, a default decision was entered on October 23rd of 2018. After the small claims action was resolved with a settlement, the claimant applied on April 9th, 2019 to reopen the case. The court found that the board reasonably concluded that this was a strategic decision that was made without a compelling reason, and consequently, the claimant had not shown good cause for the default. The court also held that the board properly concluded that the claimant's delay of over 5 months after his default in applying to reopen the case was unreasonably long. The court noted that the board's finding that there was nothing inherent in the small claims matter that required its completion prior to claimant's application to reopen his unemployment case. Citing to matter of Schuler, which is 175 AD 3rd, 1688, the court held that the board did not abuse its discretion in denying the claimant's application to reopen. Matter of Mayo was decided on April 8th, and the site is 2021 New York Active Lexus 2302. The court found that the claimant, a property manager, was an employee of an individual who was appointed receiver to manage certain commercial property that was being foreclosed upon. The claimant entered into a written agreement with the individual that specified the tasks that she was expected to perform. She needed the individual's approval for most significant management decisions, including evicting tenants and contracting for maintenance and repair work. The court found that the claimant's authority was even more limited than the agreement contemplated, as the individual treated maintenance workers at the property as receivable employees and eventually deprived the claimant control over rent collection. The individual paid all costs relating to the upkeep of the property and reimbursed the claimant on the few occasions when she had out-of-pocket expenses in that regard. The court noted that the claimant was frequently present at the property, albeit not in a designated office or on a set schedule, and was obliged to both consult with the individual when issues arose and submit detailed monthly reports for his review. Citing matter of Magdalene at 172 Appellate Division 3rd, 1832, the court found substantial evidence for the board's finding that the claimant was the individual's employee. And the last case that I'd like to discuss is matter of Rodriguez, and that was decided on April 8th. And the site is 2021 New York Aptiv Lexus 2305. The court affirmed the board's decision finding the claimant a licensed insurance broker to be an employee of an insurance company. The court found that the record contained numerous indicia of control exerted by the company over the claimant, several of which were memorialized in written agreements executed between them. The company assigned him a sales territory, set product prices, paid him a commission schedule it established, maintained ownership of all policyholder data, records, material, and supplies that were furnished to him during the course of business, and prohibited him from soliciting or servicing the company's policyholders for 2 years following termination. Prior to the commencement of their business relationship, the company screened and interviewed the claimant, conducted a criminal background and credit check, and reviewed his work history performance. The claimant was required to attend orientation training that discussed company values and was provided a company handbook that addressed appearance and behavior. The company provided the claimant with an expense allowance, access to support staff, an assigned office space, and various business supplies, including business cards with the company's affiliated agency's name on them, a telephone, and company email address. The claimant frequently attended meetings during which the company would review the claimant's performance and offer training on new products and sales strategies. Citing matter of Joyce, which is at 116 Appellate Division 3rd, 1133, the court found sufficient proof to support a finding of an employment relationship between the company and the claimant. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions about the cases cited or any of the other comments or explanations in the report? Chris, I just wanted to thank you for the deep dive into these cases, which are fascinating, of course. Some of them seem to deal with the indicia of employment and the employment relationship. Could you just explain that a little bit?
Sure. So both of these cases involved an examination from the court as to whether or not there was substantial evidence for the court's decision finding that these individuals were employees and not independent contractors. And so they look at whether or not there was sufficient supervision, direction, and control exerted by the company over the claimant. So it's both of these did not really involve the professional standard involving overall control over important aspects of the case, but rather the non-professional test of supervision, direction, and control over the means test.
Fascinating. The end result in these cases where they did determine there was an employment relationship would mean that the employee would be entitled to unemployment insurance. Is that essentially
correct? In other words, since they were not held to be independent contractors, they would be eligible to collect regular unemployment insurance.
And it's quite a topical issue, of course, with the gig economy and gig workers.
And very fact-specific as well.
Very fact-specific. So I appreciate your analysis and the analysis of your team and all the appeal judges who are who are helping us out with hearings, but their work certainly is to be commended as well. Any other comments on that report by the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the report of Principal ALJ Tate for appeals? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Marilyn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, June. All in favor of accepting the report, please say aye.
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 Aye. Hearing no opposition, we will accept the motion has passed and the report has been incorporated into the record. Turning now to the agenda of that we have drafted and approved. The next business, is there any other business before the board? Any new business to discuss? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Marilyn. Is there a second for the motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing a unanimous vote for adjourn, the motion has been accepted and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.